Hey guys, you're joined by Sci-Fi Steve, previously Owen Wilson Jr., and
KJ Griffin of Pet Peeve Rants.
and we are discussing Doctor Who on the wonderful invention that is Skype.
It's actually quite amazing how Doctor Who's been going for 50 years. But then again, you could kind of argue that it hasn't necessarily been going for 50 years because there was that big gap between the end of between Sylvester McCoy's Survival and the Revival series. Not to mention the abomination that happens in between the Doctor Who TV movie, or Enemy Within, as it's also called by many fans.
Because it's technically like the enemy within the hiatus.
Either that or the enemy within Eric Roberts' ass. Because we all know it was Eric Roberts that really killed it. Paul McGann, I'll give it to him. He was brilliant.
You'll give it to him, will you? Yeah.
But no, he was a brilliant doctor. It's just Eric Roberts as the master. That was poor. That was a poor choice, and the writers just no. That's pretty self-evident now. They're trying to make sure, or go out their way to make sure that the actual the TV movie wasn't itself canon.
But the Paul McGann audio adventures are now canon, which is fun. Because in the prequel, The Night of the Doctor, where Paul McGann regenerates into John Hurt, and he toasts all of his past companions, and all the companions that he mentions were from his audio adventures. So it's like, well, okay, so technically Paul McGann did have a series of Doctor Who adventures now that is canon.
Stephen Moffat said it himself that he wants Doctor Who to continue for another 50 years. And if it comes down to it, they could always go, oh, well, here's an idea. What if we make an entire series based around the Eighth Doctor and his adventures? Because Paul McGann, he's still young. He is still actually very, very young, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's younger than Peter Capaldi. I'd like it if, in The Day of the Doctor, Tom Baker says to Matt Smith that you might find yourself revisiting a few of the old familiar faces, but just a few of the favourite ones. If in the future, like maybe not Paul McGann, maybe not Peter Capaldi regenerating into him, but maybe the one after that. So what would that be? So the 13th Doctor, whoever that is, regenerates into Paul McGann again. Yeah. One thing I wish that they should have done is that now that we know that the 10th Doctor was actually the 11th Doctor, well, the 11th body of the Time Lord, that Metacrisis Doctor, he should have been the Valeyard.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, the Valeyard was supposed to be an anomaly that happened somewhere between the Doctor's 11th and 12th incarnation. Well, if 10 is actually the 11th body, then the Metacrisis did actually happen somewhere between his 11th and 12th incarnation. Which... That would have been really good if they'd have done that, but they didn't.
Well, they could actually go back to that.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, you also got to remember he's
trapped on a parallel world. But if the Time Lord...
And how is he really going to get back? I mean, not unless the Doctor goes, you know what, I'm going to go back to that other dimension, and I'm going to maybe do some traveling with passion.
Yeah, well, we know that the reason why they're trapped in a parallel world is because when the Time Lords died or got sent to a pocket universe, the walls of reality sealed. So you could no longer travel between parallel worlds. So if the Time Lords come back, then the walls of reality will reopen. Meaning that alternate 10 could come back. And that would be a good way to bring Tennant back in future in a way that's not like a multi-Doctor story.
They probably have to make Tennant look, much older, then have him as the Valiant. But then again, they could do that because, well, the human Doctor is actually human.
Yeah.
So,
which would make sense why he wants to, in the
back in time and try to take the Doctor's remaining lives. And because he's a quantum anomaly, he would be completely unaffected by whatever happens. And he has to be like really, really sassy. Like, oh no, Martian boy. Or something. I can't do
oh no, Martian boy.
No, like,
you're not getting into my trailer, Martian boy.
Goes, oh no.
You're not mating with me, sunshine. I'm Donna Noble.
Yeah, but then again, you got to admit she was a pretty good companion, considering she wasn't one of the ones that wanted to jump his sonic screwdriver. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
But then again, Amy Pond, it makes sense for her because the Doctor was this imaginary friend of hers for years and years during her childhood.
She probably fantasized.
Believed her, but she knew he existed. But then, like, she grew up and all that stuff, and then he appears out of nowhere again, and she's all grown up, and she's got a boyfriend. But then, like, they go on all these adventures, and then they come back. She's about to get married, but then she's like, I want some of that Time Lord D.
Some of that Time Lord D.
Anyway, but at the end of it, he didn't go along. He didn't end up with her.
No.
It turned out that she was actually
his mother-in-law.
Yeah, his mother-in-law.
Which makes me laugh.
How many people can say to their wife that they snogged their mother before they were even born? I still think that whole bollocks with her River Song being a Time Lord. It's just like
she wasn't. She had bits of Time Lord in her from time to time.
Well, no, she was conceived in a time vortex, which still doesn't make any sense. It would have made much more sense if they'd somehow been able to engineer her into a Time Lord or something like that.
Maybe. But having said that, that it was Time Lords are actually a rank, not a species.
Well, no, because
Gallifreyan is the species. Time Lord is a rank, and normal Gallifreyans can't regenerate.
No.
It's the Time Lords of Gallifrey that can regenerate. They go through some sort of genetic augmentation. So actually, what you're saying is quite cool if they'd discovered how to do that augmentation themselves as well. Which was kind of the thing that I thought Lazarus was treading on in the Lazarus experiment.
Yeah.
Which is why the Doctor knew so much about it, was because that was probably a similar sort of technology to how they create regeneration.
But no, she had to be conceived in a time vortex to become, a Time Lord, which still,
she wasn't a Time Lord. She was she was a human who could regenerate. Yeah.
Somehow get the feeling that Stephen Moffat didn't have the idea for the John Hurt Doctor, and the fact that the the Meta-Crisis Doctor didn't actually count. He did actually plan to have him regenerate legitimately at some time or another, because apparently she was genetically, and she was meant to kill the Doctor. She does kill the Doctor, and she has like this lipstick that stops him from
regenerating.
Him from regenerating. But he wouldn't have regenerated anyway, so it's just
it was when he started writing Series 7, and he realised that Chris, because he wrote Series 7 and The Day of the Doctor and The Time of the Doctor pretty much at the same time, because they're like one whole story arc. So finding out that Chris Eccleston, which he wanted for the War Doctor, originally 9 was going to be the War Doctor, so it was going to be 9, 10, and 11 in the episode.
But Christopher Eccleston
said no.
It was all about politics in the end, which is actually something that really ruined some things, because it's just like I know it's off topic, but it's the same in wrestling. Money. He can't wrestle to save his life, but he brings in the money, so we'll give him the belt, which gives us more money.
Yeah.
But away with that. It's the same in BBC. It's all politics. As a matter of fact, you notice how a lot of the people who become like main characters in Doctor Who, they've worked with someone else in Doctor Who prior. Matt Smith was in Secret Diary of a Call Girl with Billie Piper, and in the movie Ruby and the Smoke, again with Billie Piper.
Yeah.
Peter Capaldi, he was in Fires of Pompeii.
And Torchwood.
And who else was in Fires of Pompeii?
Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although one of my mates kind of pointed out something to me. As a matter of fact, this makes a lot of sense when you really consider it. But think of it this way. That Roman guy, the guy that Peter Capaldi plays in that episode, what if that's actually the Doctor?
Yeah,
going back in time to visit his younger self, but he's actually trolling him.
Yeah.
By taking, because so far it's been established that the TARDIS is this completely innocuous machine that, even though it's completely out of place, people are just going to walk past it like, they're not even going to notice it. So how does this guy
notice it? Yeah. It's like, I want this sculpture in my house. It's also, they're touching on this because Peter Capaldi now has appeared twice before in a Doctor Who related thing. Fires of Pompeii, and he was a part in Torchwood Children of Earth. And Peter Capaldi plays a politician in that, and he was also in the Fires of Pompeii. So it's like, and apparently Stephen Moffat is going to address it, that there's because actors who have played previous characters have come on to play the Doctor before. It's happened. Colin Baker was in a Peter Davison story where he actually played a different Time Lord.
Then again, you could always say that sometimes the Doctor will see a face during his travels and go, I like that face. Next time I'm going to regenerate, I'm going to take that face.
Yeah.
He's a really good looking guy. I'm going to take that face. As a matter of fact, it's quite weird considering when the second Doctor was about to regenerate, because the Time Lords were forcing him to regenerate.
They gave him a selection.
They gave him a selection, but he's like, I don't like him. I don't like that one. Nose is too big. Ears are too big. No. And then we're just like, you know what? No, you know what, Doctor? We've had enough of your shit. I'm just going to give you this one. You better like it.